Hey everybody, it's Book of Catherine. It's so good to have you back on my channel. So I just wanted to give an update on my cat and I, since we had a really harrowing episode in August 2020. So I wanted to thank all of my followers who helped us out with your extra support in August. So I know I didn't ask for any support when I went to the hospital, but I did ask for support when Lila went to the hospital. So, and I didn't post anything on YouTube about it, so I thought I should update everybody here. Since Twitter was really big, and Twitter moves by every day, it just updates. So there's really no history for anyone. So I just wanted to post a big thank you. I've posted a few thank yous on Twitter and an update. So here we go for those of you who don't know anything about it on YouTube. So the biggest event, I would say, in not research life, but our own personal lives here, is that both Lila and I went to the ER on the same weekend in August 2020. We both ended up in the ER for different reasons. Lila ended up in the ER for a urinary tract infection, and that's apparently common in cats. It's really important that you learn the signs if you have any pets, if you have dogs or cats. It happens the most in males. It's not as common in females, but with female cats, it slowly builds up, and it's kind of like sand. Like for Lila, it was sand. Is this whole long thing. You have to know the signs of it. And so now I'm always like hyped up. I'm always looking for the signs in all three cats, and it's really something you should know, because it's obvious signs. I see them all. I'm recording my cats all the time. And honestly, because I'm so on my cats, because I'm so interactive with them, you guys see it all the time. I'm always talking with my cats. Because my husband and I are always interacting with them, and because my friends are always talking, and, they know the cats really well too, we saw what was going on. We noticed when Lila wasn't able to pee, like she wasn't peeing in her litter box. She was trying and straining, and she wasn't peeing. And apparently that's like a big sign, like your cat's about to go. Your cat, if they're straining and not peeing, then you're going to lose your cat. It's different about pooping. Like you might have some time, but still that's a dangerous sign that you're about to lose your animal. And so we almost lost Lila, and that's a really big wake-up call on how integral certain pets are to your health. I literally got my animals because of a doctor, my neurologist in California, who really changed my life with his treatment. He and the tests he did, man, he took a lot of blood. I remember, oh my gosh, every time I went to the phlebotomist, there's like 14 vials of blood, but he narrowed a lot of things out, and we finally got, I should also tell you that we did get a diagnosis since I've been gone. My diagnosis we've been seeing all this stuff, like getting all these different procedures, but there has been a big, huge, growing thing, like with all the shakes and everything like that. We've been trying to figure out what this thing is with the shakes and the huge shudders that you've seen on my channel. I'll do something in dance, and then afterwards there'll be these horrible, huge shakes, and I'll be violently shuddering, and we didn't know what that was. And then I'd be down for so long, and afterwards I'd have these great gains, but the cost was so high. Couldn't figure that out. Well, we have a diagnosis now, a functional neurological disorder, and it does happen after injuries. It seems to happen after major injuries, and I had major injuries, and it seems to go back. Like my F&D would get worse with each injury like I had F&D a while ago, like with some of my first accidents, and they got worse and worse with each accident. And this last accident just really just drove it. Like that was it. There was this huge, I still remember the weekend, it just culminated. And I went to the doctor. I was like, what the heck is this? I mean, it scared the doctors. I was like, I could definitely give my symptoms. I was like, this is happening. And it's basically your central nervous system is fried. It's an awful feeling having your central nervous system just lose it on you. And it's different for every patient. I mean, some patients have it with I'm not a doctor. Ask your doctor about this. But some people it seems to be that some people have it with their motor nerves, where they have like this huge thing where their motor nerves are like going really, really bad. Some people have it where their pain receptors are really, really bad, like their sensory, like for me, touch and everything, really, really bad, where they either went completely numb or the pain just went completely, or my hearing, the sensory, like I did get hit right in the temporal, like that's where my head went through the window on the last accident. So, you know, that probably had something to do with it, just the pain receptors, because I was able to dance my way through the others just fine, and I wasn't on any kind of medications at all after that second accident that I rolled and everything like that. I wasn't on any medications to keep me going through. I just danced after that, got really, really strong from dancing. The third one where my head went through the window, that's a different story. That's a different story when you knock your head out. Different story, different strokes, whole 9 yards difference when you get a concussion, severe concussion. That changes things. Interesting, you know, very interesting. And we think now that I got a concussion when we rolled. Now, I mean, my head got slammed with a giant plate. Anyway, so that's a different thing. Then, so I got a functional neurological disorder diagnosis. So that's really great. So I'm getting treatment for that. We started, which goes in line with what happened with me going to the ER the same weekend as Lila went to the ER, because when I went with her to the ER, part of it is that I was like, I went with her and I had been staying in the house according to doctor's orders. I'd stayed in the house like I was supposed to, hadn't been leaving the house, and then COVID happened, so that went right in line with COVID. And then so I went out. I went with Lila hours away from the house, hours and hours away, and my husband needed to go grocery shopping anyways, and they were like, you better just stay here until we get some news and get some checkup and see what we can do with her, if we can save her, blah, blah, blah. And so we were like, well, what are we supposed to do? And my husband was like, I need to do groceries. I was like, do groceries, get whatever, you know, do what you can, because we have so little time with my doctor's appointments and his job. And I'm like, do it. Like, you have to be rational. You have to be rational in our lifestyle. You have to be rational. So we take every moment we can. I was like, let's do it. So let's go grocery shopping. So we went grocery shopping in a town I hadn't been out grocery shopping for, I can't remember the last time. So I went in with him because I was all hyped up. I'm probably on adrenaline or whatever of Lila. And I went into a grocery store and he's like, good, we can find out. So I had different food that night than I had ever had or whatever. And probably because I was all hyped up, whatever it was, plus I was on a new medication for FND, or maybe it wasn't for FND. Whatever it was, when I got my diagnosis for FND, my neurologist put me on a new medicine. So I assume it was for FND, maybe it wasn't, but whatever it was, it took my heart rate down. And boy, like, it turns out afterwards we found out that that medicine also has side effects. Like, I was like, when we finally put it together, like, we had changed all my food. Basically, the medicine has it has abdominal pain. That's one of the side effects with it. Now, I've been on a lot of meds. I haven't issues so far. I'm like, yay, they've helped. They've all helped. I've been so lucky. There have been several where, you know, you pretty much know right away, okay, this isn't good, but I feel it right away. Like, I've told the doctor, like, right away, this ain't, like, I'll take it, and it feels like poison the moment I take it. It just doesn't go with the body, and sometimes I try to stick it through. I can kind of know the difference between, okay, just get used to it. Like, this one, I was like, woo, but I also know stick with it. Like, everything just slowed down. Everything went just to slow motion. The whole world went in slow motion. But also, like, the pain went down, like an extraordinary amount of pain went down. Everything calmed down around me, and it felt like this huge cacophony of music, this loud siren that was always going in my head, just turned off. And I was just like, at first I was like, I don't know if I like that, but my friends was like, just who involved in medicine, she was like, just give it a week and we'll see how it goes. And she's like, it'll bounce out. It'll go woo like this and it'll bounce out in the middle. And that's exactly what happened. And then I loved it. I really loved it. It really bounced me out and talk like this little all the time. But then we were just measuring it out. Like, we were measuring it out because after the ER, like, I was still having problems. And I was like, we've changed my food. Like, we found out with my stomach really likes the no fiber, no fat, loves the no fiber, no fat, which of course it turns out that's vegan. And I'm like, oh, like they take out all the, I'm like, you know how much I hate the vegan thing. You guys know how much I hate the vegan thing. It benefits BASF and Big Pharma. It benefits Germany tremendously, the vegan thing. You guys know how much I hate that. You know how much I hate that in the Mesopotamian Babylon with the big, look at all, anyway, that's a long thing. So, but anyway, but it's best for my stomach. So I go with it. It's why, so I have to just go with it for now. And I do, I go ahead and do it. It's good, but we did all that and the pain was still there in the upper right quadrant and we were like, what the heck is going on? And finally we narrowed it down to the weekend that I started the medicine and we're like, well, let's stop it and see what happens. And we stopped it and it went down like every day. The next day it was like less and less in that upper right and we were like, okay, so we're going to talk about that to my neurologist. And now I look back, I'm like, probably not a good idea to just stop medicine. I've learned that. Never a good idea to stop a medicine ever without consulting your doctor, ever. I've never done that in my life, come to think of it. I've always talked to my doctor and I've always freaked out my friends to stop medicine. The problem is that this pain had already put me in the ER and let me put it this way, I talked about this on Twitter. In the ER, to just sum up, in the ER, it was so bad that, I talked about this on Twitter, in the ER it was so bad that I started to say goodbye to my husband. And I have never done that. Like, okay, I have had as much pain as I've had, as many narrow case misses as I've had. I have been through a lot. I've been through so many. I've been through an hour and 45-minute seizures, right? Or shakes or whatever you want to call them. Violent shit. And I've never, ever, I've been close to dying and I didn't know it. My friends knew it and they were scared and everything and I didn't know it. Like I felt the wind change and been like, this is dangerous. But I never felt like I was at death's door that day, like being on that day, being like, gosh darn, you know, I feel death like staring me in the face. I haven't had a day like that. I've just been like, uh-oh, my health is waning. Like, this is, my body's giving up on me. This is bad. I better change something quick. I've been there, but I haven't had a day where I'm like, it's the day. And that day in the ER, like, I wasn't even thinking of Lila at that point. I was just like, I remember being in the bed where the pain in the side was just getting so astronomical, where I remember just looking at one of the nurses once. I remember I just was like, hi. And he's like, hi. And I was just like, hey, hi. And I remember I kind of freaked some of those nurses out because they could tell I knew pain. And they could tell, like, I knew pain. I was a different kind of patient. I knew pain. And they could tell I was worried because my husband and I we were used to pain and I needed my husband in there for COVID. That's another sign of FND. Without my husband, I couldn't speak. Like it's a whole thing where for FND, the stress eats up, it's a whole thing. I'm getting tired and the pain is growing and I'm like, I am going to have to explain that to you another day. But the amount of stress that I have, like right now, the stressors that I'm enduring right now is, this is a stressor. This is painful to have on my head. This is a stressor. There's stuff on my lips. So that's a stressor. So that's all eating at my brain right now. Those are sensory intakes. Even the makeup on my face, I can feel it. That's a stressor, right? The lights in the room are big stressors. Those are big stressors. Those are sensory intakes. Even the hair on my neck, big stressors. I normally don't ever have the hair on my neck. Super big stressors. The shirt that I'm wearing is a stressor. But really the lights in the room are the biggest stressor right now. And so all of that, and then I would say the pain in the body, you know, that's bad, which is great that I didn't mention like the pain first. That tells you how much further I've gotten. So those are all eating at my brain and prohibiting me, eating up like my engine space, my power engine to think, if that makes sense. Your brain has 100 notches to think, and then all these sensory intakes, the stress of all of those sensory intakes for FND eats away at all of those and leaves me like 10 notches with which to talk to you with. And as the pain and sensory, as the pain goes up, it eats away at those 10 that I have left. And then I start slurring my speech with you. And like now I'm starting to have a hard time remembering where I was because the pain's increasing from sitting up. This is like my third video today. So sitting up is being, and I'm like, oh, if I lay down, that takes away pain and it'll increase it from 10 to 20. And then I can talk to you a lot more. So I'm kind of like, here, I have an idea. Hold on. Computer. Oh, shoot. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to see how much. All right, so let's put my hand up. It's pretty great, right? Not that bad. I can hold it that straight. All right, now let's watch. Okay, now I just changed the AC back on. So that's loud noise, and I just put all the lights in the room back on. Now, do you see that? All right, so now I'm getting close to an episode because I did the sensors. I better turn them off. But do you see? See, so we know better to turn them off. Hold on. Yeah, I lowered upstairs to 30%. Oh, that's so much better. Knowing about FND has really changed our lives. So the pain's slowly coming down. Knowing about FND has really changed our lives. I am able to manage, like the pain management has been extraordinary. It's been extraordinary, you guys. Anyway, so in the ER, I finally had to do it. I was so scared because I thought I was going to go into surgery. And we were in a hospital that had like the worst reviews ever for surgery. Everyone we knew someone had gone in for surgery for a liver, and they gone in and operated on their breast or something like that. I mean, we just knew the worst stories. Everyone knew that if you wanted to die, go to this hospital. And we were just like, oh my God, that's why we don't go to anyone around this hospital. So we were just like, how we cannot go to this hospital, and we had to for ER. We were just like, oh my gosh. And so they're talking about surgery for, the upper quadrant. We didn't know about the side effect of the drug yet or whatever. It was just like 2 weeks in or whatever. So I was really scared, and we were thinking about surgery, and I knew that people died on the table in this hospital, and the pain was astronomical. And I knew that probably a surgery would be the only way to survive. And looking back, I realized that they make you stop taking a lot of drugs. You have to get a doctor's approval on what drugs you're allowed to stay on over the night until the surgeon gets there the next day, which I think is insane. They don't have surgeons overnight. They made everyone we saw that went in that day had to stay overnight. I'm like, doesn't that work out? The new COVID regulations makes a lot of people stay overnight. I'm like, oh, lucky for the hospital. But we had to stay overnight, and the surgeon showed up the next morning. And amazingly, the surgeon was like, did you have any diet changes lately? Didn't ask, did you have any medications changes lately? That was not the question they asked. Had they asked that, I would have said, yeah, actually, yeah, that's actually what this is. Not, they didn't ask that question. That's not what they asked. I haven't had a medication change in years. I can't imagine. Years. And I'm like, oh, well, nope. And so I just kind of feel stupid, but they stopped that medication overnight. And so it was better the next day. And so they just discharged me or whatever. So, and then I went back on it. It just, it's awful. So, probably that combined with Lila anyway. So it was so bad that evening that I went in. The pain was so extraordinary that I remember being like, I might have to do surgery, and they're not taking it down. It was getting, the ER nurses today are amazing. They have to do 11, each one of them has to do 11 jobs now. I was like, hey, you help me with this. Oh, wait, you're here. And oh, you're taking my CAT scan. Nurses today really are they are the front lines. I don't agree with what a lot of conservatives are saying, that they didn't give their lives. I'm like, they are getting paid a lot of money for this. I don't know. Every union job has overtime worked into their thing. I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's not overtime then. If it's not overtime, if you get overtime, 3 hours 1 month because there's an emergency, that's overtime. Overtime is not when you get it every single week for a year. That's not overtime. That means it's part of the job and you get a regular pay. But nope, taxpayers are paying union workers overtime every single week. That means it's part of their salary, and really people should be looking into it. Audits need to be done, because then I'm like, no, you just need to schedule people differently. Do an 8-hour week and hire more people. Jeez Louise, the corruption in this country is insane. So anyway, this is me tired, sorry. So yeah, I was in the ER and I had to say goodbye to my husband. I had to actually get to that point and be like, all right, so I may not. It was just, you get to a point where you have to be like, you have to make peace with your maker, and I had to make peace with my maker. So that happened in August. And that changes a person. Yeah, so maybe that's why the Beirut blast doesn't really, I don't even think about it, because I kind of had a really close experience afterwards. That's kind of what defines my August. And Lila almost died. So I'm really focused on Lila staying alive and me staying alive. As I think a lot of people are today, don't you think? Ugh. And there we go. I don't think I've cried. I don't think I've cried since that weekend. And here I am, I tape with you guys and I start crying. Ugh. So I want to thank those of you who supported. That's my big thing. Those of you who gave money. And I know a lot of people didn't want to help. Everyone wanted Lila to survive, but they didn't want to help Lila survive. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of our relationship, is that you're not required. You're not required at all. You're not required at all to be a part of our family. It's not you don't need to pay for a ticket in order to be a part of us. But to those of you who did help her survive, like, you don't have any idea. Like, sleep is so valuable. Like Dr. Phil was saying, if you want to turn someone into a sociopath, or if you want to drive them insane, just let me control their sleep. And I've been realizing how much sleep I don't get because I'm in pain. And so we make sure that Lila holds on to me at night. Like, I really can't sleep at night. The pain is so bad. And I don't want to take a lot of drugs before bed. Like, I try to adjust my medicine rounds at the right time to have my medicine rounds to try and get me to sleep. But it's really hard because the pain is built up all day. It's really hard to get the pain down. The pain builds all day from all your moving around the house. The pain builds up and then you're supposed to sleep. Like, that's very hard. So we have all these things to get me comfortable. But Lila will come in and she'll just hold on to you and she'll just purr and purr and purr. And I'll hold her close and she'll just lean back in my arms and she'll purr. Like, Taz doesn't like being held. Tiberius doesn't like being held. They'll let me hold them for like 5 seconds each. They all have like this internal timer. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they let go. Lila, no. Like, Lila will purr until I fall asleep, and then she just gets up and walks out, and then I fall asleep. And it doesn't happen all the time. But if I'm having violent shakes or whatever, like, my husband can give me Lila, and it's really hard to have the violent shakes if she's there. The body gets so distracted. And she's the one that got me out of the house and gets me walking. There's something really, for people who are sick, cats and dogs, and there's a reason why people get a pass to use their dog. like blind people get their dog. There's a reason they can be of assistance. They can be of true medical assistance. And my cats, my cats are, you see it on Twitter, those of you who follow me on Twitter, my cats are of true medical assistance to me. Like, I need to be amongst people. Like, I am most comfortable. I am most comfortable when I'm performing before an audience of at least 1,500. Like, that's where I'm comfortable, is where I'm speaking before an audience of at least 300, or dancing before an audience of at least 1,500 minimum. Give me more, and I just get more comfortable on both ends. I just relax, and instead I'm in home, like with just white walls surrounding me. And I have 3 amazing cats that keep me sane. That doesn't sound sane, but they do. I mean, I'm evidence of it. I'm talking to you, aren't I? And I've been driven mad with pain for 10 years, And my doctor, my amazing doctor in California, neurologist, it was a neurologist who got me in a neuro, and it was a neurosurgeon who talked to us on Dr. Phil about cognitive testing. And that's why I got asked my doctor for cognitive testing, my neurologist. And they were like, yeah. It was my neurologist who was like, you don't have... everyone thought that I have these other diseases. And my neurologist here was just like, no, you don't. And they all knew what I didn't have. And FND is hard to find. My neurologists were going crazy, but now we know. And that's exciting. But anyway, so I just want to say thank you. I'll just never be able to thank you enough. So, I don't know. So I try to give you good research. I think finding out that the immortals are angels, and that possibly knowing their names, that the Christians of first century knew the names of immortals and started taking out all the bad ones. And that's why they banned the books with their names, is because that's how the immortals died, by knowing their names. That's why Jacob asked to know their name. Because once you know the name of an immortal, you can take them out, and their children. I think that's pretty big deal, isn't it? I'll just keep on trying to find stuff like that for you guys, okay? All right. 666 angels fell. Isn't it interesting that all the statues of Apollo are the same? They didn't invent a face. Everyone invents a face of what God in Hebrew looks like. Jews imagine what their God looks like in the Catholic churches. Every picture of Jesus or every picture of Christ or God is totally different. They don't have the same face. But Apollo, same face. Zeus, same face. Isn't that interesting? Same face, same body, same proportions, same. It's almost as if they're real people. Almost as if they're the angels, the immortals. That were talked about in the book of Enoch and Jasher and Ezra. Anyway, thank you guys. I'll keep doing stuff like that for you to say thank you. And I'll keep on trying to warn you about things like Beirut. Hopefully it'll save some lives. I love you guys. Bye. And if anyone would like to support Lila, because we didn't end up covering her bills. We still have stuff on that awful credit card. If you'd like to help, you can just donate down below. Any amount you'd like. There's a PayPal link. So But I will never be able to thank you enough, those of you who kept her here. She keeps me going. I love you. Bye.